See what ASD is all about this year. It's going to be exciting for sure.
Hi, I'm Seth Marks. I'm the Senior Vice President of Extreme Value Sourcing for Big Lots. We're going to be talking about the power of partnerships and surprise and delight retail. How many people know how many family businesses there are in the United States? Do you think there are more family businesses or corporations? By a show of hands, if you think there are more family businesses, 100% absolutely crushes corporations. There's 5.2. I don't have any stats or slides. I don't believe in that stuff. I feel like we're all one-on-one today having a conversation. This is my 60th ASD show. My grandfather came to this show in the 60s when they started it, when it was called, does anybody know what it used to be called? The Army Surplus Dealers Show. Morty Marks came, first guy ever to bring non-Army surplus dealer merchandise. He said, hey, if these Army surplus guys are buying surplus, why don't I bring toys, tools, kitchen gadgets? I'll take a picnic table. You could touch the ceiling in the Hilton where this thing started at. And next thing you know, he sold everything he brought. And then Leon Coral, someone he knew, who you guys might have heard, great closeout merchant. He came a few years later, but 65 years later, 3 generations. But I grew up in this business. Before it even started, I was going to flea markets and swap meets. And so the most valuable asset we have, I think you guys all know, is our energy and how we manage our return on our energy. And I want to be mindful of your time. So I want to qualify the attendance here today. By a show of hands, I see some familiar faces. Dave, thanks for coming. Dave was employee number 1 at bstock.com. And Seth, you were employee number 6, bstock.com, one of the first digital consolidators of surplus merchandise. Great, thanks for coming. But I want to make sure you got the right DNA to be here for the next. Stephanie, how much time do I have?
You got 20 minutes.
Okay. By a show of hands, how many of you are the type of people when you see a penny on the street, on the ground, where you pick it up? By a show of hands. Awesome. Awesome. I'm all about that. And you guys know, how many of you do that because you think it's going to give you luck? By a show of hands. Luck is an energy. Luck is a belief. And if you don't have that, life is much harder. I'm a big inspiration guy, and I pick up a penny because I believe in luck. I believe in it. I believe every day is a blessing, and what we do, we're lucky to do it. And what we do at the ASD community, it's like we're creating value. We're like the ultimate advocate of the customer. By a show of hands, how many of you would buy a $5 bill for $1? Okay. If you didn't raise your hand on that one, not a good return of energy for me here. Go back in the show. So, how many of you believe buy low, sell high? I believe that for a long time. And that's, not everybody wins in that occasion, in that proposition. Growing up in a family business, it takes one relationship to change the entire trajectory of your career. Mine was Big Lots. This is my second time back at Big Lots. When my family business, I left the family business, too many cousins, a lot of those of you that are in family businesses, 3rd generation is a rough generation. I left to spread my wings and went to a company called Hilco Global, a giant liquidation firm, and we were doing a lot of business with Big Lots. And what I learned from that growing up in a family business is the power of partnerships and how this relates to buy low, stay with me, because the power of partnerships, it only takes a couple, sometimes just one, to change your entire business life. And when you have a family business mindset, whether you grew up in one or not, you treat your vendors like family. These are the things that school doesn't teach you. Is nothing matters unless the person on the other side of the table trusts you. And you can't reach your potential without that. You can't optimize the business unless you have a trusting partnership. So for years, and this is a little progressive, because 20 years ago, if I would have told you guys about that, the drop ship business, that I'm no longer going to give you a purchase order, I'm just going to feed you orders. You can put more stuff on the site, but I don't want to take possession, you probably would have said you're crazy. People are still scratching their head on the drop ship model. You have to have a great quantitative person in your organization to model things out before you spend the energy on that, by the way. I was the chief merchant at Overstock.com when they wanted to get out of the $100 million plus that they had in their warehouse, and hey, Seth, go to the furniture shows all over the country and let's figure out how to drop ship this stuff. First year, 17% comp sales increase, 54 net income, 54 million. Those of you that follow Overstock.com, has always been a profitable business, because they still do. They quantify things before they spend the energy putting them up to make sure the juice is worth the squeeze. Return on energy. The dropship business is like the personification of a partnership. When I was at Overstock.com, I was one of those anti-.com guys. I didn't believe in it. And seeing us grow there, and then the next year went to, again, it was almost like COVID numbers before COVID, when you guys saw what happened in the e-commerce world, and if you were an essentials retailer, everybody got that lottery ticket, and now they're fighting to figure it out as we continue to understand what normalization looks like in this crazy supply chain. But we were putting up numbers because of partnerships. We did more with less partners. We took people like Cole, it wasn't Cole, but people like Cole, Safavea Home, some of these companies you would know, that were family businesses, and went all in and said, okay, I know you're giving us $1.5 million, purchase orders, but you're only buying 20% of my SKUs. So you're saying we can put 100% of the SKUs up and we'll do more business. Yes, and we'll have a weekly business review. A weekly business review. If you have a partner you're doing business with, talk to them every week. If you think if you trust them and they trust you, set up a weekly business review. Grit. We talk about grit. Stephanie and I said before this call, I said, what are the two things? I didn't, pay much attention in school because I had a family business. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to sell $5 bills for $1. Can't lose. Buy them for 50 cents. So that's what we did for 65 years. Well, one brother went to Georgetown, the other one went to UCLA. These guys set the bar high. They're both older than me. I went to University of Arizona to feel what retirement would feel like. So when Stephanie asked me, this is about grit and creativity, the ASD community. When she asked me what, the surprise and delight of retail is about grit and creativity. And when we talk about buy low, sell high, that model is undefeated. There's no question about it. But not everybody wins. What I learned from the dropship, if you have a partner, whether it's a unique item, doesn't need to be a closeout. There's a lot of new, beautiful, innovative products here where you can work together to find the right value versus just jacking up the price. Like, find the right value together. That's what it's about. It's source right and find the right value together and have business collaborate like partners. Business reviews. Hey, how many more do you, if you could give me this much better of a price, I could lower it a little more. You're working together. I'm a huge revenue sharing guy. Huge. What is revenue sharing? It's me sharing your sales data with your partner. Rather than haggling over the pennies, how do you optimize? Where's the sweet spot, right? Amazon does that with algorithms. There's blind spots to all those algorithms. If we do it as partners, and this is how we built the dropship business at Big Lots, and I'm now doing this in a bricks and mortar environment where we take inventory in, we show you our POS data, we mark it down as needed, we start higher. When you buy low, sell high, if you work together, you can afford to be more ambitious and share in the upside. And talk every week. Set up that regimented business review with your analyst or finance person, and if you wear all the hats, even better. If you have a platform, and I'm offering up Big Lots, if you guys have cool products, we have 1,400 doors, we have 20 million active emails. Those are big time puzzle pieces. Our core competency is selling stuff, not product development. You guys, if you're in the product development side, we should talk because we got enough eyeballs. 10% open 20 million emails. If we got a nice compelling subject line, that's 2 million. 1% convert. Dave, how many orders is that? 2 million people open it, 1% convert. 20,000 orders. So one of the things that a lot of you guys do is probably are on a marketplace and paying a toll booth fee and to sell. We have 20 million eyeballs. If we can put a compelling value proposition, reach out to me. Let's figure out how to work together so we can grow something special. If it's a liquidation closeout deal, happy to help it sell fast, monetize it for you quicker. But that's our core competency. We have two great platforms. And leveraging each other's core competencies is the name of the game in partnerships. Right? That's the name of the game. Cole, we're doing, one of the first orders I wrote when I got there was Danny Cole, one of the founders, Jason's dad's brother, shot me a note, I think it was a Sunday, on LinkedIn. Hey, congratulations on the Big Lots job. And, you know, I looked at that, set up time to talk to him right away, and we went to dinner at the show. We're putting resources and energy at Big Lots to work with Cole so we can get out of the customer's way, test things, analyze things, try to understand how big the relationship can be rather than haggling and arm wrestling on every deal. Dance with the people that want to dance with you is what I took away from that. Danny's reaching out to me on a Sunday. It's a founder of the company, one of them. And I said, this guy wants to dance. This guy wants to work together. So great partnership. We're growing with Cole as a result of that. I know this to be the case. You gotta kiss a lot of frogs to find your prince in this business. But when you find it, it changes your W-2 guaranteed. It changes your life. It's not about hundreds of partners. It's about the quality of the partners. And that, for me, was a big mind shift later in my career when I saw the power of what we did through drop shipping versus having thousands of vendors and curating it down to the about 20 of them that really drove the business because they wanted to, and we gave them the resources financially to show them the size of the prize. And that's what, so the digital side, the takeaway here is when you leave the show, who's your best partner that complements you, that your best platform you sell on? light yourself on fire. If you trust them and they trust you, set time up with them to dive deeper together and find your North Star. Stephanie, there's going to be one person that comes here 6 months from now. By the way, twice a year, you got to come twice a year. There's three most important things in bricks and mortar retail. New, new, new. And that's how you increase your frequency of visits. You heard Danny Cole talking about it, right? If you think it's just, oh, this did great, let's keep replenishing it, that eventually becomes brown lettuce. Yes, you need it, but frequency of visits is the name of the game. And the treasure hunt, which is all about new, 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 is what drives frequency of visits. It's what drives one more thing in the basket. So there's no better place to find new, new, new than at the ASD show. You got the greatest merchants. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been to every consumer product trade show multiple times in my career because I'm kissing frogs all over the globe trying to find deals. That's what I do. There's no better place. We're at the bottom of the funnel here. I can't tell you how hard it is in other shows. Like, these are people, and no, all due respect, my wife's a JD MBA, all right? I think you could put that on Charmin's. But it would be more useful if you're trying to do this for a living. Because I go to all these other trade shows, 90% of these C-suite folks are MBAs, the people I'm working with. You're asking yourself, how did you get to the C-suite, Seth? Been in it for 25 years. Brutally honest, I've quit every company I've been to. Been back to two of them, recruited to be one come be a CEO at Hilco, took my boss's job. Now I'm taking my old boss's job at Big Lots, Senior Vice President of the deal buying. Because there is no trust if you're not honest. And sometimes I've gotten better. I've been to therapy. I fought that for a lot of years, but I know how to, a little more elegant. It doesn't hit as hard, Dave, my honesty. I'm a little more thoughtful about it. Don't you think? Yes. But you got to be honest. And going to these other trade shows, nobody has closeouts. When I don't know who asked a great question. Hey, do you ever sell below your cost? What do you happen when you got a loser? Right? You go to all these other trade shows and they're denying, our inventory is perfect. We don't have any closeouts. We don't have any excess. We don't want to talk to you. 9 out of 10 times that conversation happens. It's the one that gets you started. There's a company here that's had a relationship with a Fortune 500 company, a lot of booths, for 30 plus years. One vendor. They get the reverse logistics deal flow. The stuff that gets pulled off the shelf, right? The customer returns, the end-of-life inventory. That's a huge world. Over $800 million, $800 billion in customer returns last year, of which 50% of that no fault found, perfect, could go back on the shelf. The other 50% of that is in the world of frogs. You got to find it. But you get one relationship, like this second generation family business that we do business with at Big Lots, because they clean it if there's any issues with it, and we sell it. That's how Big Lots started, with a lot of reverse logistics inventory. That's the hardest thing to do in our business, is anniversary the deal the next year. If you got a closeout and it's a one-time closeout, because it was stuff made for Bed Bath & Beyond, and you're only going to get that canceled order once, how are you going to anniversary that the next year when you want to grow your sales? Reverse logistics. The customer returns are coming. .com is the gaslighter of it. 20% plus customer returns on the .com side. Low, mid-single digits on the physical bricks and mortar side. Fact check it, over 800 billion came back in the United States last year. How do you monetize that? It's such a fragmented world. There's not enough of us to serve, to keep that stuff, provide the traceability. This whole ESG thing is super real. I didn't buy into that until my daughter was taking classes in college around it and talking to me about it. And next thing you know, I was the chief merchant of a company that KKR, a big private equity fund, one of the biggest in the world, got into the space and said, hey, we need a chief merchant that could go get all these returns. So I did that before Big Lots, Channel Control Merchants. We sold the business for KKR successfully and had an opportunity after I sold $300 million of one famous retailer's bullwhip post-COVID. Holy cow, what are we gonna do with this inventory? Our demand planners were planning like 6% growth over our COVID lottery ticket year. And they all had MBAs. Anybody follow that one? They just had a 30, some of these retailers are doing 20, 30, 40% comp sales increases, and you had MBA analysts, senior level people trying to grow on top of that year. Digest that. That's like, I guarantee you, if we were running that stuff, that would not have happened. And I say we because it takes a different breed in this show. So, but it did bring one of the greatest waves of closeouts we've ever seen in our life post-COVID. And so when we sold those $300 million to Big Lots, they said, hey man, are you happy over there? I know you sold the business for KKR. We'd love to do more of this stuff at Big Lots. And the guy, your boss, we never really replaced him. Can you come help us? How fast can we make that happen was my question. Because serving deals to people is fulfilling. It really is fulfilling when you're not ripping people off. And that's why you don't buy low, sell high. You create value that works for the customer. You obsess on the customer. If you're not obsessing on the customer, we don't have anything in common. Work backwards. Work backwards. What do you think you can get it for? Before you chop the whole deal off, ask your partner, can I test this? I think I can get more for it, but I feel a little uncomfortable. I don't have a lot open to buy. I don't have a lot of cash. Can you give me 15 days? I can get it on the floor. I can get it online. Whatever that time frame is to get a read before you expose yourself to get hurt. You gotta know when to pounce though, right? Like that, if you could do that, do it every time. If you don't feel it here and you have some history or data that tells pounce, get it all. Every day for me, it's pounce, test, at no frickin' price. Pounce, these are my 3 thoughts when I'm working all day. Pounce, test, no frickin' price, right? Because if it's not a quality item, there's a lot of garbage in the market. And that, there's a big ecosystem. I'm not that guy that I have been. I had stores called Dirt Cheap. We'd throw anything in there and share the revenue. But garbage. So for me, when I say no frickin' price, it's when it's not a quality product. Dave, any questions?
What's your most challenging deal that you've done? Can you talk about that?
My most challenging deal?
And what did you learn? What did you learn from it? It could be a small deal, but you learned something.
Though I've learned from every deal. I learned from every single deal. Stephanie, am I allowed to answer that? Most challenging deal and what did I learn from it?
Yes, we want to hear.
I've definitely had some tough ones. I think the most challenging deal I ever did was a company called Sitcom Furniture. I was the chief marketing officer and chief merchandising officer at Tuesday Morning when it was growing. This is before I went to Overstock.com as the chief merchant. Going back, those of you, how many remember Tuesday Morning when it was really a great retailer? It started getting Neiman Marcus excess in Dallas, started with a warehouse sale. There's a line around the block, luxury goods at discounted pricing. That's a recipe for success every single time until you go public and need to be open every day, and then you go to China, you can't fool the customer. May they rest in peace. So What I learned at Tuesday morning from a deal called Sitcom Furniture, it was a bank deal, foreclosure, like $25 million of furniture. We bought it for like $5 million. It was like 60 at retail. So I'm counting my money like the Wolf of Wall Street. I smelled it. Right? A lot of times you write the PO, it's over. You know you got it. So that's what I thought, Dave. I thought this was going to be a monster win. And it was up in Northern California, our distribution center. Another reason Tuesday morning is resting in peace is what I learned on this deal is to move furniture from Northern California to Dallas. You don't get a lot of units of furniture on a truck. This was like 2,000 loads. And no joke, I mean, those of you that know the business, that's backs into the math I said on the retail. So I didn't model that. I did not model that. I just assumed it was the same amount that would, that the coal loads come in at, 3,500 a truck or 2,200, and you just run it the napkin math in your head. I also didn't model that we didn't have the ability to move those. Some of that stuff was like teak furniture that was incredibly heavy and couldn't go through the back of a lot of these stores we had that didn't have the proper docks. I didn't think like a supply chain guy. And every deal I do today, Dave, so I got it was a very bad deal. We couldn't even get it out of the warehouse because the logistics were so hard. It's like the bowling ball through the fuselage. That we couldn't make it happen. We had to sell that around what we paid for it, which is like worst case scenario, not such a bad business when you're selling stuff around what you paid for it, if that's your worst case scenario, which has always been, my grandpa said, how bad can it be? If we buy something for $1.50 and we sell it for $1.50 or $1.30, but the other 25 things we sold for $3.25, how bad can it be? 65 years later. So it was a bad deal. What I learned from that deal was get every discipline in the organization at the table before you do the deal. Understand what the math, is there any out of pocket? What is our expenses? Expenses kill companies. The operating expenses kill companies because of what I did there. Had I not learned that, I'm never doing another deal without getting the freight quotes and understand the temporary labor that had to be brought in to help unload these trucks that were floor loaded. Floor loaded. Has anyone ever taken a 53-foot trailer and unloaded it when it was floor loaded? 5 hours versus keeping one dude on a forklift and going and getting those 26 pallets, 20 minutes. So that labor killed us, all that stuff. So what I learned, Dave, was a great question, honestly, is putting a deal task force together on every deal that's not your regular course of business. That dude in the back, putting a deal task force together on every deal that doesn't fit your regular course of business. When I was listening to Jason, I saw some guy taking notes, which inspired me, so I wanted him to know that. That's how you stay in business. So, Stephanie, I could go on forever. This is,
Seth,
but
you did a real good job. And guess what? Remember we were talking about social and getting friendly, and there's LinkedIn and all that fun stuff. So, Seth, I think you're going to have a lot of fans post this event. And I do want to say, if anyone has ever taken the time to deal with Seth from a buyer's perspective or just doing business with him, his office, first of all, he's always on the road. But when he is in the office, there is stuff all over the place. And that means he's doing the work, he's looking at the product, he's picking up the phone, and he's doing what he needs to do. So let's give Seth a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. I wanted to get one more thing out before you gong me. Dave, who's the great innovator, product innovator that never had a slide, he just preferred to come up and freestyle it? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs. I wrote one quote down. I love that dude. He's so inspirational. Like I said, I'm an inspo geek. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And find your partners. Fire the other ones, and let's create some magic together. And if the value's right for us at Big Lots, let's rock and roll. Thank you.
And that wraps up episode 6 with Seth Marks from Big Lots, speaking about the power of relationship, sourcing, and the entrepreneurial spirit that is needed to succeed in the Liquidation and Closeout series. Thank you, ASD Marketweek, for co-hosting this event and educational series with Nice Find Wholesale. We appreciate you all so much and truly hope that you all as viewers enjoyed this and found this series to be powerful and useful. Hopefully we all see you guys in August at ASD Market Week 2024 Part 2. And if you are going, make sure to drop a comment, let us know, because we will see you there. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't seen the rest of the series, check these episodes out right here. And please make sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. We appreciate you all very much. Thank you all so much for your support.